If your allocation is the heart of your plan, rebalancing is the steady pulse that keeps it beating at the right rate through bull and bear markets. The job is simple. When markets push your weights off target, you use a rules-based process to bring them back so risk matches your plan instead of whatever rallied last month. Done well, rebalancing is boring on purpose. It's a small set of decisions made on a predictable schedule that you can follow even on your busiest days. Start with what rebalancing is and what it isn't. Rebalancing is the systematic act of selling a little of what ran ahead and buying a little of what lagged to restore your target mix. It is not day trading, prediction, or squeezing every last basis point from last quarter's trend. Its purpose is risk control. Without it, stocks can swell during long uptrends until your portfolio is riskier than you intended, then shrink during drawdowns precisely when you need them most. Bringing weights back to target combats that drift so sequence risk doesn't hijack your plan. There are two clean ways to run rebalancing. Calendar rebalancing means you pick a cadence often annually, sometimes semi-annually or quarterly, and you reset to target on schedule, no questions asked. It's dead simple, easy to automate, and reduces decision friction. Threshold rebalancing means you set tolerance bands, say plus or minus 5 percentage points, around each target, and you act only when a sleeve breaches its band. That approach often results in fewer, more meaningful trades that respond to actual drift rather than the calendar. A hybrid is common in the real world. Check on a calendar, trade only if a band is breached. That blend keeps monitoring simple while avoiding tiny, unnecessary adjustments. How often should you rebalance? Too frequently, and you'll churn, rack up taxes and spreads, and still won't meaningfully improve long-run risk control. Too infrequently, and your portfolio becomes whatever markets hand you. For many long-term, US-based investors, an annual check with clear bands is a practical sweet spot. It allows reasonable drift, which can be fine in uptrends, but steps in when risk strays too far. If you are in a high tax bracket or have most assets in taxable accounts, lean toward the hybrid approach so you only trade when it matters. Design your bands to be easy to follow. Symmetric bands work well. For a 60/40 plan, you might allow total stocks to float between 55% and 65% and only act when you cross that boundary. Inside the stock sleeve, if you split US and international 60/40, consider a 5 to 10 percentage point band around each subtarget to prevent fussing over small deviations. Asymmetric bands, tighter on the upside, looser on the downside, can discourage risk creep, but they add complexity most households don't need. A simple starter rule is plus or minus 5 percentage points on stock divided by bond and 5 to 10 points on subsleeves. Adjust only after you've lived a full cycle with the method. Sequence your fixes to minimize taxes and friction. Always try to use new money first. Direct every contribution and every dividend or interest payment to the underweight sleeve until the gap closes. This simple habit often takes care of most rebalancing in tax-efficient, low-friction ways. If a band is breached and cash flows won't close it by your next review window, then look to sell. When it's time to sell, work in the best account first. Inside tax advantage wrappers like 401k divided by Roth 401k and IRA divided by Roth IRA, you can switch funds without realizing capital gains, so rebalance there whenever possible. If you must rebalance in taxable accounts, favor lots with losses or long-term gains and avoid creating short-term gains where you can. If you also practice tax loss harvesting, coordinate your substitutes and your rebalancing calendar to avoid wash sales. Write down the look-alike funds you'll use and the wait window so you aren't improvising under pressure. Across all accounts, keep the whole portfolio view. The goal is household-level targets, not perfection in each account. Execution hygiene keeps costs tiny. When using ETFs, place limit orders and avoid the very open and close of the trading day when spreads can be wider. Consolidate orders to minimize partial fills and watch typical bid-ask spreads on your funds before placing larger trades. With mutual funds, end-of-day NAV execution makes timing decisions disappear. Submit orders before the cutoff and move on. A consistent playbook how you place, when you place, and in what size turns execution into a repeatable step, not a decision. If you run a simple 3-fund portfolio, total US stock, total international stock, and a broad, high-quality bond fund rebalance in 2 steps. First, correct the stock divided by bond split back to target. Second, inside stocks, restore your US international split if both pieces drifted. That order matters. The first step resets total portfolio risk. The second step corrects composition within equities. Keep it that simple and you'll avoid overtrading. Inside sub-asset classes, the same logic applies. If you maintain size or style tilts as small satellites, give each a band and adjust only when breached. Otherwise, let the core do the heavy lifting. Inside bonds, keep duration and credit quality within the mandate. This sleeve's job is stability, not yield maximization, so avoid reaching for yield during rebalancing just because one segment outperformed. Volatility and correlation influence your settings, but don't chase perfection. In stormier markets, breaches happen more often and you'll act more. In calmer periods, you may go a full year without a threshold trigger. A quarterly check with annual action unless bands are breached is a sensible compromise if you want more oversight without extra trades. The key is to decide in advance what you'll do in each scenario and then do exactly that. Discipline beats cleverness. Write a 1-page investment policy statement that lists your targets, your bands, your default cadence, your account-by-account trade order, your minimum trade size, and a rule that changes happen for life reasons: only new goal, new timeline, major cash flow, not because markets got loud. Add a 24-72-hour cooling-off rule for any off-cycle change. Write the reason, sleep on it, and only act if it still makes sense the next day. This 1 page converts good intentions into a habit you can keep. Automate wherever platforms allow. In workplace plans, steer paycheck contributions to the sleeves that need it most and use the plan's rebalancing tool if it's robust and low cost. In IRAs and taxable accounts, automate contributions and reinvestment, then put review reminders on the calendar. Many pick the same month every year and add a mid-year drift check to catch large moves. Centralize your view so you can see household weights and pending cash flows before you press any button. If you harvest losses in taxable accounts, set rules to keep rebalancing and tax work from tripping each other. For example, designate a set of pre-approved substitute funds for each core holding, record the dates you swapped, and note when the wash sale window ends. If a threshold breach occurs during that window, try to solve it with cash flows or trades in tax-advantaged accounts first. If you must trade in taxable, use the substitute pairing that preserves your harvest. Turnover and costs deserve guardrails. Avoid tiny trades that change a sleeve by less than, say, half a percentage point. Batch small adjustments with your next contribution to reduce friction. Set a practical minimum trade size and stick to it. If spreads are unusually wide or liquidity is thin, for instance, around holidays or during market halts, delay until conditions normalize unless your band breach is severe. Edge cases happen. If a big market move blasts through your bands, consider staging your trades over a couple of days to reduce the chance of poor fills. If you receive a large contribution or need to make a large withdrawal, reset your portfolio to target in that moment, then resume your normal cadence. For less liquid sleeves or specialized satellites, err on the side of wider bands and smaller position sizes so rebalancing remains smooth. As major goals approach, coordinate rebalancing with your glide path. If you plan to increase bonds over the next 5 years before retirement, fold those target changes into your annual reset rather than bolting on extra trades. Align these steps with known cash flow needs so you aren't forced to sell risk assets in a trough to meet near-term spending. The process stays the same, only the targets glide. Measure what matters so you can improve without chasing noise. Track how far your portfolio drifts on average, how often you breach bands, how many trades you execute, and what taxes and costs those trades generate. If you see frequent small trades with little drift reduction, widen bands or tighten your minimum trade size. If you see persistent large drifts, tighten bands or consider checking in a bit more often. Review once a year and only adjust the method if the data show a clear, repeated mismatch with your goals or constraints. You can set this up in one session. Write down your targets and bands. Choose your default cadence and a specific review month. List your account order rebalance inside tax-advantaged accounts first, taxable last, and define minimum trade sizes. Turn on automated contributions and reinvestment. Add 2 calendar reminders, a mid-year drift check, and your annual reset. Save the one-page plan where you'll see it before logging in. This all plugs directly into your 3-fund core. Your stock divided by bond split sets the risk. Rebalancing makes it self-correcting. Contributions and reinvestment will do most of the work in quiet times. Occasionally, a simple rule will tell you to sell a little of what's hot and buy a little of what's not. That's the whole game. Rules over reactions, year after year. To keep the momentum, the next step is to tackle the quiet leak that most investors ignore: fees. Expense ratios, bid-ask spreads, platform charges, and avoidable taxes compound just like returns but in the wrong direction. In the next video, you'll get a punch list to cut costs without changing your strategy, including how to compare lookalike funds, how to read spreads, and how to place orders and locate assets to keep more of what you earn. Bring your tickers, expense ratios, typical spreads, and any account fee schedules. 10 minutes of cleanup can pay you every year going forward.